Hello everybody, welcome back to Cinema Savvy. It is myself, George, bringing a brand new review, a spoiler review, and today we are going to be talking about Stranger Things Season 5, Volume 1, which is now streaming on Netflix in its entirety, the first 4 episodes of the final season, and I'm going to be giving all of my thoughts on the 4 episodes, the big moments, the revolution, the theories for the Volume 2 and the finale that will follow. This is going to be quite an intense discussion, and as you can tell, I'm not recording this live. I am pre-recording this. I'm going to get this uploaded properly. And I'm going to also jump in and say, if I slur my words, already looking down the camera lens is somewhat making me feel more tired. I'm currently running on 2 hours of sleep. I'm recording this at, I think, 20 to 10 at night. No idea what time this is going up. And I went to bed, well, I didn't go to bed last night. At 1 a.m, these episodes came up. I watched the first 3. And at 4:30, I was absolutely wiped out. And today was my office day, so I had to be up and about, and I couldn't watch episode 4 until after I got home. A bit of context of going home, relatives moving house. I got home even later. I literally just finished watching the episode in the last 20 minutes. So I am running on actually 2 hours of sleep at the moment. I've slept for 2 hours between 4:30 and 6:30 this morning. My original plan was to get this done before I disappeared out for work, but I was not going to be doing an all-nighter. It would not have been dangerous. If I was working from home, I would have, and I've done that many times before. But yes, this is my spoiler discussion. I don't think I'm going to fall asleep doing it, and I guess what I'm going to say with this and start talking about this is my thoughts on Strange Things, and for you guys at home, comment your thoughts on the final season, your thoughts on the other seasons. What's working for you, what's not working for you, things that look ridiculous, things that maybe don't, things that you've really vibed with. I'm really curious to know what people think of this one. Obviously, this is going to be one of the biggest shows of the year. I guess it's the biggest show for the remainder of this year, for the few days we have left, a few weeks we have left. It's really kicking in. And I'm really curious to know what people think of this. I've not read much online. I spoke to one person, Neil, good friend of the channel, about this because 3 minutes ago, me and him were exchanging texts. He's the only person I know that has seen all 4. I have not read reviews. I've kept away off social media which has been absolutely carnage with this film. I'm going to add this series. I'm going to also do a disclaimer to kickstart. I had the final scene spoiled for me. And you might be thinking, why did it go online? I was watching these episodes as they dropped. And I made the fatal mistake of what I thought was an okay mistake to make. Go on Twitter, are people live tweeting it? What's coming up on my feed? Spoiler alert, the first thing that came up is Will's got powers. If you want to know what time that was about 3:50 a.m. in the morning here in the UK. That's 2 hours and 50 minutes after these episodes have gone up. That is the final moment from Volume 1. And someone hasn't even watched the entire 4 episodes. They have basically got the rip, downloaded it, exported the clip, uploaded it for clips. Absolute freaks and losers. I don't mind things being spoiled, it's my own fault, but at least when you see the Star Wars lot, people tend to be like live tweeting as it's on, which is bad. But I've never seen someone skipped into a Disney Plus program, do the spoiler, and go home for the night. Very, very strange. People desperate for clips, probably an influencer. So yes, avoid social media if you haven't already. I'll be totally honest, I wasn't too fussed. I'd just seen episode 2, I think, when that clip had gone up, or I was on episode 3 or something, so it was my own fault still, but again, people got no patience. So yes, I'm going to give my thoughts on this. And I've really struggled at structuring this. I have 2 scenarios. I can talk about characters and their story arcs for the season. We tend to do that in spoiler discussions. Or I'm going to go through this episode by episode. I don't want to do an episode recap. So what I'm going to do is I've got the notes below me for the 4 episodes that have gone up, and I've tried to stagger it into the certain characters or story arcs taking place in each episode. So there may be some overlaps as the minutes go by, but I think it's going to be the best way to approach the 4 episodes, and I hope I don't miss any of the big moments. So, as I said, any feedback, what people want to see, are curious, let me know. Volume 2 will have a spoiler review, obviously, when that drops. No idea about the finale. That's on New Year's Day here. Do I do it live at sort of 4 in the morning? Maybe. Do I do it the next day? Do I want to live stream? I do not know. So there's going to be more Strange Things reviews. We've got a playlist on the channel where you can see everything we've already done for the series. It's nice to sort of complete it with this. And I guess what I can say with that, my thoughts on the other seasons, it's a show I really like. I came to it quite late. I started watching it just after season 3 aired in 2019. And I binged all 3 seasons. I really enjoyed it. I liked the 80s setting. I liked the characters. I liked some of the actors in there too. and the concept and something being a bit different. It had me, and I've enjoyed it. Season 4 took it, to me personally, to another level. Season 4 is a great TV series, just as a whole. One of the strongest seasons of TV I think I've ever seen from memory. And then obviously the hype going into Season 5 is quite something. Now, my approach to Season 5, I've avoided the trailers. I've actually not seen a single trailer for Season 5. I've kept away from everything I can. The beauty of Netflix not liking cinemas is that they don't then spam Netflix trailers at the cinemas for their TV shows, so I've been able to avoid the marketing as such for this. Obviously, it's been unable to avoid one of the actors and what's been going on in their marketing with a certain album that's released. But yeah, I was excited to go into this, and it's like many shows where the hype doesn't kick in till the days leading up to it. I didn't rewatch the 4 seasons. I didn't have time. I didn't want to rewatch the 4 seasons, if I'm totally honest. And I had a concern going in, which I'll talk about, which I think a lot of people have raised as a valid concern. Now the series is out, there may be some valid criticism with that concern too. But I guess this is my final spoiler warning moment, because I'm going to start talking about the episodes now. So we'll kickstart with Chapter 1, The Crawl, directed by the Duffer brothers. And I think the key for this, talking spoilers, is the big moments. We opened the season with 1983. We flash back to when Will was in the Upside Down for the first time. And we get the confirmation that he was involved with Vecna. That sounds really weird saying that out loud. That obviously Vecna had... I feel like I've seen this in a film recently where, like, the alien... it's alien. It's like having a facehugger but not a wrap around the neck. It was like the whole possessing through test tube, vile, disgusting thing. Love the upside down designs, always have done, but we have a confirmation here that there is something more to Will because of Vecna, and it's the confirmation of that happened in the past, which is very important to do. Absolutely the right time to do it at the opening of the season, considering where this volume finishes, not the season finishes, where this volume finishes. That bookmark, the bookend itself works really well. So that's a big moment, a confirmation point. Somewhere someone's probably trying to edit into a canonical version of everything in timeline. So we'll move on from that, because I've got no opinion to add on that other than I think it was the smart thing to do. And this is where I'm going to get really into the chat now. Now we're going to go into modern day, 1987, and we're going to recontextualise the town of Hawkins from the ending of Season 4. We put some metal plates down. We've quarantined the town. We've basically done the Simpsons movie. We've done the dome without the dome. There's a military presence. No one's getting in or out. Everyone in there is trapped because of this thing that's gone on. And I really like that. I think it's the best way to approach this. And this is what leads me to my biggest criticism of this series, if I'm allowed to say so. The series being Season 5. It's the tired discourse you've probably seen online. This series made a fatal mistake in not having a time gap, and the opening of the recontextualising what's gone on in Hawkins over a year has actually reaffirmed that, if I'm totally honest. You are playing a big cliffhanger in Season 4. You're opening with basically, the military took over, it's all hunky-dory for now whilst they're locked away, we got the metal sheets covering it all up, it's okay, fine, we're on the hunt for some people. You could have done a 2-year gap, you could have done a 3-year gap. 4 might have been a bit excessive, but this didn't need to be a year after. And I know there's some bits with paying homage to Eddie that goes on with that, visiting the gravestone. But when you see the young actors at the school, it just looks ridiculous. And that's not discrediting the actors, their performances. They're all in their early 20s now. I think they're like 22, 23, the core for. They are not playing 16-year-olds. And the costumes, the 80s attire does not help that. And I think the show didn't need to have them at school. Whilst we do have characters set at schools with young children in this that could have still worked as a storyline with the time jump, I just think they got it cataclysmically wrong by having them all be 16 still. I don't think that worked. And it's a shame, because having them under quarantine really does then benefit the logic to do a time jump, and that this has been happening over this time previously. It's a very strange thing. It's something that I think was a concern for me heading in. It's something people have laughed at, people spoke about. I think it is a very fair concern for people, and I think the execution of it in this, it just didn't work. They are all far too old to be playing those ages. I understand the writer strike, I understand the actor strikes, I understand it's a long series to make. All of that needs to be taken into account when making a series. So it's a really minor thing, and I'm glad there's no scenes of them at school. And I'm also going to add, did we get de-aged Will in the opening scene? Is that the youngest ever actor to get de-aged CGI? Because he's like 22 and they've had to de-age him to look like a child again. Different conversation, but very much worth bringing up. But what I will say, whilst criticising the lack of time jump or the actors' ages, etc., I love the idea of the city under quarantine. It sets it up as a finale. They're trapped there. This will be Hawkins. There won't be external factors, other things coming into play. This has to end here in this town, in all this weird stuff that's gone on over the years. I really like that. Great way to set it up. Such a simple moment. Having Robin on the radio station, giving the updates, coding the messages to people. I really enjoyed that. And it does set up the season in a unique way, that we've got a very black and white logic of, we've got this underground tunnel system. Could they have done that any year though? And where we're going to go with that is just the simple, we're looking for Vecna's hideout. When we get there, we're going to kill him. Simple story. This is the final season. The objective of the final season, we go and kill the main villain. I'm fine with that. That works for me. That's all I need to hear. It's a great setup. It's a fantastic first episode. And I'm going to add that we get the very important character moment of Will obviously telepathically watching the Demogorgon at the end. That's going to play a big part in this season. It's played a huge part already by the end of episode 4. No idea what the next 4 episodes are going to have in store for it, but I like that they're doing that, and that then in turn goes back to the beginning of what happened in 1983. So I'm going to leave that there, a great cliffhanger, but you can't talk cliffhangers with Stranger Things because they're dropping so many episodes. Ironically, this is probably the only episode with a proper cliffhanger too, I'm going to add. So I'm going to save the Holly talk for chapter 2, where I'm going to talk about now, directed by the Duffer brothers again, and this is The Vanishing of Holly Wheeler, which is, I believe, the title that they did not reveal before the series for obvious reasons. The title was a spoiler. I know it was called, I think, The Vanishing of ... So I like that we did that, and something I haven't spoken about the episode 1 part, which I'll speak about with this part. I really liked Holly having more of an integral role. I know they recast the actress for her. I forgot the name of the actress in this at the moment. I didn't put it on my notes. That's my bad. I thought she was one of the best performers in this first volume. I really enjoyed getting to spend a little bit of time with some of the other Wheelers. I know that Ted has become a bit of a meme online in recent years. Karen's obviously always been around in there. So to have the Demogorgon, leaving them theoretically for dead, and taking Holly in the opening moments of the episode 2, and it kind of reminds me like Infinity War. Like, they've hyped up this big monstrous ending to the Marvel Cinematic, well, not ending, this monstrous storyline for the MCU, and their opening scene is, let's go and kill Loki, let's take a big name off the board. I thought, oh my word, they've killed the Wheeler parents. This is going to be this type of season. It's like in Rogue One, when Bodhi gets the grenade, it's like, oh, this is going to be this type of film. I'm not going to sit here doing that childish, because they didn't die, therefore it's not good. I do say, for a show that has historically took incredible swings of killing off new characters, supporting characters, Eddie in the last season, Samwise Gamgee in season 2, I forgot Barb in season 1. Like, the show has never been afraid to kill off people. And okay, we're 4 episodes out of 8, we're at the halfway point. I was very surprised that they let both Karen and Ted live, asterisk, at this point in time. I didn't know they might have killed off Ted. I liked the scene we had with Karen later on with the revelation, so she needed to survive. I just find it so strange from a viewing perspective, without sounding like I'm trying to nitpick too much, that we see the Demogorgons literally massacring, stomping people's heads, being as abrasive as you can want with killing, imagination with kills. And whenever it's like a minor character, a supporting character, or a lead character, it's like a scratch to them. I'm not saying that ridiculous plot armor type thing. That's the stupidest criticism online. I just think you had characters with an opportunity here where you could have gone for a kill, and it would have had a substantial moment alongside taking Holly away. I know the objective is to take Holly away and set up this different storyline, but I was really gobsmacked when it was like, Ted's in a coma, the mum's got surgery, we're in hospital now, and it was just a little bit like, okay, I'm not sure about that. That's took me out ever so slightly, but I understand, and I hope there's something more in play with that. As I said, the sequence with Karen later on does sell that. And I guess where we're going to also talk about episode 2 is the subplot we're getting with Hopper with 11. Obviously, in episode 1, Hopper's starting to train 11. He's obviously afraid of her dying, what happened to his own daughter, something that's been part of his character arc for 5 seasons at this point in time. And it's really interesting that she will obviously go into the Upside Down to chase the Demogorgon, to try and get Holly back. Nancy's aware of that. Hopper's already in there because of what happened in the last episode. So it's going to set those two up on a journey. And I'll be really honest, I was not necessarily struggling in episode 2, but the first 3 episodes didn't blow me away story-wise, hook me in like season 4 did, like season 1 did. Not that I was taking anything away from this, because I'll talk about it as a whole after chapter 4. But I was sat there thinking, oh, they've just conveniently met in the forest. And again, it sounds like I'm nitpicking, I don't intend to, because it shouldn't be that deep. But I was sat there at this early stage thinking, okay, could we get a move on? Is there enough story here to elevate the runtime, to justify the runtimes, the extension, the 3-part volume structure? And it's 2 episodes in, so it's a quarter of the way through. But I was just starting to be like, come on, like let's get this moving a little bit more. I know a common criticism of volume 2 of season 4 was how long the episodes were. This felt like we're padding out stories at some moments. But certainly chapter 3 and chapter 4 really benefited and sort of improved upon that than episode 1 and 2 did. But I am going to say the concept of bringing in the wall, yes, it's impossible to think about Game of Thrones, but I like this that, okay, what is this object? What's beyond the wall? What's been going on here? What's the play? It asks the questions that you're going to get answered in the series, which is essential when you're in the early episodes, so I'm fine with that. Then obviously we haven't spoke about Lucas or Max yet either. We get to go back to Max. She's in her coma. Lucas continuously playing Kate Bush, trying to wake her up. Now the cynic in me would be sit there saying, okay, they're trying to get Kate Bush to streaming. It's probably one of the most iconic TV moments in season 4 of the last like 10-15 years. Like when people are going to make lists in the years that follow for great sequences of modern TV, or these big moments that people talk about, you know, people when they talk about the Red Wedding, historically, where were you, what was it like? Stranger Things has that with the Kate Bush song. It was such a monumental moment in that 4th season, so I understand them doing that. And later on again, where we get to in chapter 4, we get a bit of beneficial of why that song was playing again. So I don't know if it felt like too much to me, and that's where I'd be curious if it did to others, but I understand it. And obviously we know that there's a storyline with Max. They're not just going to pay Sadie Sink to have her lying down in bed doing nothing, so we know she's got to come back at some point. But the thing I've really liked with this episode was the imaginary Mr. Whatsit, who obviously is Vecna. I loved this moment. We get to get Jamie Campbell Bower playing Vecna, playing a different role of it. Almost like the fraudulent type. He's kind of like the Pied Piper, like he wants to get all the children, he wants to lure them into the Upside Down, and by doing so he's saying, I'm going to protect you from the monsters, when he is the monster all along. We know his master plan is to manipulate them, but for reasons we do not know at this point in time. But I really liked that approach, that there is something weird going on. It harkens back to season 1 when we had all these things happening. Why was Will picked? Why was it him over anybody else? It's asking that question and reinforcing it by going for other children across the season. And it's still a very important plot arc for season 4, which has not been answered at the end of volume 1, which is essential. And the problem I have when you have these predetermined volumes of we're doing a part 1, a part 2, the part 3 I know is the finale, but you kind of want to answer some questions within that first volume, but you need to take into consideration the audience who aren't watching it live, who are maybe going to wait till January the 1st to watch 8 episodes. Maybe new fans over the coming years who are going to watch this for the first ever time and watch it function as a full season. You can't answer too much of an entire season story in a first volume. You need to stagger it. You can play with some threads, but you really need to continue and develop. And it has to feel like a mid-season. Not a mid-season break, but you can't just start a secondary season within that second part, which is something some brilliant shows of our time have failed at, where they've used the season 1A or season 1B part to do different stories, which never functions on a long viewing form. So yeah, I'm gonna talk about episode 3, and the big thing here, big pause. Frank Darabont directed episode 3. This was known in advance he'd be doing an episode of Strange Things. I did not know it was going to be episode 3. It's an incredible coup for them to get on board, and this is the only Duffer Brothers episode in the volume 1 so far. And I haven't spoken about the direction too much. The Duffer Brothers do a fantastic job with it, especially with the visuals, what they want to do, what they're achieving, the production design, the upside down, Vecna's newer costumes, questions over it, if I'm honest. But I loved the direction in that third episode, and that's when you can tell when you've got a proper filmmaker on board, when you've got a renowned film director who's going to come and do an episode of a series. This episode in particular, I loved it. It's very comedic. You've got all the stuff with Derek with his family wanting to poison them to get him away. He's going to be Vecna's next target. How can they save him? He's this horrible, annoying child that no one likes. So I like that they get to develop him. And he's been a meme in the trailers. Like, people have spoke about who's this kid here. He got a character poster. He's going to be important. Who is it? I love all that sort of stuff. And I loved the family dinner dynamic that they had to sort of basically get them all drugged to get him away to try and save him from Vecna. So I like that we're seeing the other side of the kids who think Mr. What's-It's there to save them, that anyone who's doing the opposite of what Mr. What's-It says is actually part of the monsters. Great way to do that moment, and I loved the Home Alone traps around the house, cutting out the floor, dropping it into the barbed wire, having the door open, the swings come down, setting it on fire, putting the tracker on it. It was really imaginative, and I loved that sequence, and this is when I started to really vibe with the season a lot more than I was already. Again, the more you can lean into towards a series, the more you can lean into the story, the episodes, the characters, the development, the production, the better it is for everybody. And something I really also liked with this episode is the fact that Hopper and Eleven are setting up another subplot where they're theorising that Vecna has been captured by the military. We have very specifically not seen Vecna in, I don't even know what you call it, his true form at this point in the modern day canon, not in the flashback. And I like that Eleven and Hopper are starting to think, okay, there's someone there, the military's got someone, and something's going to happen and we need to get them out. And I did not know where that story was going to go. Someone has very much predicted it very easily. I didn't think it was as easy as that. But I liked what they were doing in their set story. I liked what was going on with the trapping the Demogorgon story. And then obviously a massive part of this is obviously Will's revelation that he now has the hive mind powers. It did feel a bit blasé. But we get a somewhat cliffhanger of Holly in the world, I'm going to call it, because I'll save the review for episode 4, and Max being there. So comatose in the non-upside down, her able self in the upside down. Great way to end the episode. Leaves you wanting more, leaves you asking questions. Are they going to get answered straight away in the next episode? Are they going to be a big part of this? They're going to be a big part of the second volume. We'll find out. And again, that's what you want, to be continuously asking you questions in a season without answering them all straight away. And this is where we get to Country Mile, the best episode of the volume so far. Chapter 4, The Sorcerer, directed by the Duffer Brothers. I love this. We get a detailed breakdown of what's been going on with Holly and Max. That Max has worked out that she's in Vecna's... Well, she knows she's in his prison, but his prison is his memories. And the cave in particular is something he doesn't want to talk about. Very Lord Voldemort-esque. Ironic that Jamie Campbell-Bower played Grindelwald. I'm going to add that very quickly. But you've got the cave, you've got the memories, the flashbacks, and are they going to be pivotal in how you can defeat Vecna when the time comes? I do not know. I'm not going to make too much of a Harry Potter comparison, but that's probably got other iterations of things that have done that before. So it's funny, but I liked that we're going to get a little bit more from him. Particularly the fact that he was obviously teasing that he's an actor on a stage. You've got a young Joyce in there as well. I liked that. I like that we're going to set up Max and Holly on this quest together to break out from his prison. That's going to be a big moment. Unfortunately, spoiler volume 2 alert, there is a title episode which is Escape from Camazotz, which is the name of this prison, which is very frustrating that episode title is out there already. I know they're going to have to get that at some point, but it didn't need to be an episode. It could have just been called The Escape from ... They didn't need to really name it this early. Different conversation, different rant. But the big thing for me, well, not the big thing, I'll get to the big stuff at the end, but a huge moment in this episode is the Hopper and Eleven reveal. The fight with the military, what's been going on in there, getting to the revelation, Hopper might kill himself if Vecna's there, he's got to die, he's got a suicide vest. And we get the revelation that Callie is there. 8 from everyone's favourite season 2 episodes. Collective sighs and outrage from some. Not to harp on the age thing, but the actress, I don't know if they've recast her, but she looks a lot younger than Millie Bobby Brown does, which is kind of ironic because it's the big sister vibe in season 2. Granted, that was probably 7-8 years ago now. I just thought it was very funny that she just looked a lot younger than her when she's probably meant to be the older sibling type. But that's obviously going to be a huge part of what we're going to find out in Volume 2. I don't have anything to say on that. It's nice they're tying it in. It's interesting that it's something that was berated for many years that now might be pivotal in the ending. And I'm starting to think it might not be something that's shoehorned in. I could be wrong. It may have been shoehorned in. She might get killed 30 seconds time at the start of the next season. Who knows? But it's one of those things where it's a great callback, and it's a great way to wrap it in that everything is not tied in a bow at this stage, but you can see they're starting to really go for it. And obviously we don't know what's going to have in play, but the big talking point is obviously the sequence at the base. We've got the military taking kids, the military working out, they're going for children, we're going to protect them by keeping them here. To then have the failed escape plan, to have the Demogorgons all rising up, to have Vecna emerging, to see him for the first time properly, and that slaughter sequence, which looked incredible. Some of the most creative kills, particularly the tree branch through the face eye socket's mouth, is going to live long in the memory. I loved that moment. I loved how they shot the sequence, how they played up the sequence. Vecna theoretically berating Will, saying he was the easiest, he was the weakest, it's why he manipulated him, and that he'd basically go create his new world order. And then we get the big moment where there's peril, characters are going to die in different environments, different areas, the children have been kidnapped, we're going to leave this on a great cliffhanger, only for Will to end up with powers, who we get a great flashback. I know they're going for the old home camcorder type thing of when he's younger, he's going through his relationship. It's not quite the same as Running Up the Hill, I'm going to say. I'm allowed to say that. I don't think they're trying to impersonate it. It's a great sequence, but it obviously feels like the sort of thing we have seen before, and Stranger Things has done many a time, going back to previous callbacks, with the emotions being what pulls characters through. Also, not to bring up Harry Potter again, Harry Potter being possessed by Lord Voldemort, with the whole sequence in Order of the Phoenix. I loved the plot twist, well, not twist. I love the fact that Will's got powers, that it goes back to what happened at the start of the season that's been teasing throughout and throughout. The only thing I have to say is just that Will's just a character never liked, so I hope that changes in Volume 2 and the finale. I don't like picking on young actors. I know they're all in their early 20s now, not that that excuses it, but something I've found staggering in Season 5, not just because they've aged up, but obviously not all young actors continue to perform, obviously they are in this. I think you can start to see and work out which actors are going to continue to be actors after the show finishes, and I think you can also work out which actors are just going to be at Comic Cons for the next 30, 40 years. No disrespect to that either. There's a gulf in performances from certain actors. I'll keep them nameless, but obviously I'm talking about Will at the ending, so you can easily say that's one I'm talking about. And I think, again, it's not to diss on them. They're young actors, it worked so well in the early seasons, but obviously as they've got older, they're at a different point. People are at a different point in their careers. You know, you've got like Finn Wolfhard, who's been in Ghostbusters, he's been in it, he's done so much. You've got Sadie Sink, who's just been announced to be doing Macbeth on stage in London, who's had a very successful career, already been in Oscar-winning films and stuff such as that. A lot of these other actors have done Broadway. Others will do projects I'm not unaware of. I think there's a couple of musicians as well. So it's great to see some of the cast maturing. But there's a couple of performances which I think just, you can tell they're like the kid actor stereotype, right? And that's where I'm going to leave that politely. And unfortunately, No Snap's one of those where Will looks like he's going to be the most integral part of the series. But I don't think the actor's got the minerals to pull that through in the level that the other actors around him can. Sounds really horrible, but it's kind of how I'm feeling after that finale. But it's a very, very good episode 4. It's the right way to end the episode. It leaves you wanting more. It raises those questions of, why haven't you dropped it all at once? You want 3 splits. You don't want to do weekly episodes, but you want to air 4, then make people wait 4 weeks, then air 3 and make them wait another 1 week. So that's 8 episodes of TV across 5 to 6 weeks, is it? So weekly episodes are a no-no, but 8 across 5 to 6 weeks is okay. It's just strange. It's stupid from Netflix. This should be a weekly show for the final season. That would have been a humongous event moment for everybody watching. I mentioned a couple of the cliffhangers in the episodes. You know, episode 1, you've got the Demogorgon going after the Wheelers. Episode 3, you've got Max pairing up with Holly. Episode 4, you've got Will and his powers. There's like 3 great cliffhangers straight away, and then it makes you wanting to, okay, what's going to be next? How is this going to happen? And you lose that momentum by airing it all now. And I've watched it all, I've binged it all, and I'm not going to get the appreciation I would week to week. I don't get to read about theories. I don't get to read what people are thinking. You have to watch it all so no one else ruins it. But in my circumstance, other circumstances, people on social media did ruin it. But that's what Netflix are about. They're about stats, they're about metrics, they're about growth, they're about audience views. They're not about the other things that go with it. And that's why we have to be desperate that they do not successfully buy Warner Brothers. But yeah, weird side tangent to go off. But my favourite scene from this series is... Oh God. I love the Ted and Karen somewhat fight, because I thought, okay, there's stakes on play here. But absolutely, the best scene is the final moments, the Demogorgons, Will snapping them, the use of the camera moment. I really enjoyed that. It's a very powerful scene. It's a great scene, and it's something that obviously people will be talking about and sharing for weeks to follow until what comes next. And that's where I'm going to leave it into my final thoughts. My spoiler review of Stranger Things Season 5 Volume 1, I thought it was solid. I thought it was good. It's a good trajectory for the series. And obviously, as you can tell, I'm not the best with it being not bingeable or not weekly. It's just this stupid middle ground. It's not going to lose momentum. I'm a bit pissed off that they're going to release it on UK guys. We get it Boxing Day. We get the finale on New Year's Day here, like 2 a.m, then 1 a.m, I think, Boxing Day. We get shit times with it. We don't get the cinema release like what others do. It's a very good series, but I don't think at this point in time, halfway through, I don't think it's on a level of Series 4. Vecna's got a new design, which I'm not sure about. It looks a bit strange. He looks like a tree. He looks a bit like an evil Groot. It's gone from... It looks very wooden. Not as like a criticism of the costume design, but is that the upside down? Is he like merging more into that environment that is affecting him more? I don't know. I'd like to find out. Sorry, favourite scenes. Well, I should have just said Vecna just massacring everyone. That's the sort of sicko I am. I loved that moment. But yeah, my final thoughts. It's a weird one because I recommend it. Obviously, I'm going to recommend it. But you're not going to be watching this video if you haven't seen the first 4 seasons or the first 4 episodes of Season 5. So you kind of know my thoughts. But I want to know what people think. So please do comment your thoughts on Stranger Things. We will be doing a spoiler discussion on Volume 2. And then probably for the finale, I'll try and get a group on. Again, it's New Year's Day. I'm not going to ask people to be doing too many video type things. We've all got lives. We've got social lives. But I would like to try and get some people on for the finale, which may be fair to talk about because it's such a big show. But if you don't, it will be just me recording to camera. Or maybe I do go live in the middle of the night. Who knows? But that's going to be me rounding out. I hope you enjoy this video. What else is coming up? We've got a lot of new releases. Zootropolis, Zootopia 2, whichever they call it in your country. That's out, so I might be needing to do a review this weekend. We've got the Pixar retrospective. We've got a Bugs Life going up on Tuesday. We're starting them weekly. That's going to be a lot of fun. It's a very busy time. We're starting the Christmas videos as well from Sunday the 5th. They're coming back. Very busy time. I'm shattered. I need to get some sleep. I need to edit this video. So that's me rounding out. Once again, thank you all so much for watching. Take care, and I'll see you then.